unless you put on that gun belt, unless you put on those boots, unless you've been to that call where you had to pull a dead baby because his mom decided to get high and not watch him, or that dead body, or that domestic violence because this guy beat his wife because he's cheating and he got caught up, or getting that fight for your life or your partner for that matter, or a shooting, unless you've been in any of those experiences, I really don't think you really have an entitlement to put your opinion on what we do.
Welcome to the podcast. Might talk a little shit, get a little brash. Might drink a little bit, smoke a little bit. Vibe a little bit, laugh a little bit. Yeah, hosted by Fidel. Tell it like it is, only tell it real. Live every Tuesday, you know the deal. We talking again, we talking again. You now tuned in to the tap in. You now tuned in to the tap in. You now tuned in to the tap in. We talking again, we talking again. Come on.
What's up, everybody? This is Fidel Talking Again podcast. I'm here, another edition of the Tap. In studio, I have none other than Gil Lozano.
Hello, how you doing?
Everybody's asking, like, who's Gil Lozano? I knew Gil as Gilbert Lozano.
There you go.
And then
there you go. I don't like my name, so I changed it just to
okay,
Gil.
because I remember, Priscilla, can we talk real quick about how we got reacquainted?
Okay.
So this is an old high school friend of mine. Oh, no, middle school.
Middle school.
Back in the day, Troy Wake, if you guys all know, here in Covina, city of Covina. And our friend Priscilla, she said, "Hey, do you know somebody named Gil Lozano?" And I said, "God, that's Lozano. I know Lozano. I don't know Gil. Is it Gilbert?" And then she said, "That's the one."
Yeah, I think she asked me, "Did you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no, I changed it because.
Wait, no, you said you changed it? You actually?
No, not legally changed it. I just cut it off.
Yeah.
I really was not a big fan of my name. That's my dad's name.
Oh, okay.
So
wait, are you not a fan of your dad? Or
no,
we're
cool. I just don't like the name. I don't like it. So I was like, oh man, it sounds dorky. I'm just gonna be Gil. There you go. Not any better, but that's all I had to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Couldn't have been like a Steve or a Brad or something
well,
normal.
Hey,
but,
welcome to the show, Gil.
There you go.
Gil, what's going on, man? It's been years, dude. We're talking over 20 years probably.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, now I'm really old. Yeah.
We're old.
Yeah, no, it's been a hot minute, man. Or two. So yeah, junior high, a little bit of high school, and that's pretty much. And everybody goes their own way. So yeah, it's been a long time. But you know, like I said in the preview earlier, you know,
The tap room.
The tap room.
Yeah.
The only memories I have of anybody really in the past it was people who kind of just were really cool to me, or you know, of course, the circle of friends I had at that time, or anybody that was just good to me in general, because you know, like I discussed on the tap room, that you know, my upbringing, you know, wasn't all that great, so you kind of tend to remember someone being good to you for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, especially if they made that impression. And I just remember always being cool with you. You know, like I said, you were just the class clown. I remember I was the class clown. And, you know, even though as later in high school, our circles were different, we always just had that comedic little thing between you and I. And
right.
You would start and I would finish it, or I would start, you would finish it. And we just laugh and call it a day.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I don't know why when I talked to Priscilla, and she told me your name, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I actually remember that guy. Holy crap!" You know, because obviously Fidel is not
a common name.
It's not a common name.
It's not like Gil.
Yeah, no, and you know, you didn't piss me off, so there you go. Otherwise, I just would have been like, that guy still owes me money.
Yeah,
so.
fuck that guy. You know him? Where does he live?
Yeah, exactly. So and the rest is history. So it's a small world,
isn't it?
That my partner our mutual person that we have in common. I'm like, oh my god, I've never thought in a million years I would hear your name ever again. I actually forgot about it, to be honest with you, but
yeah.
When I heard that name, I felt like the little guy in junior high again. Like, oh my god, what's that guy doing? You know, it's crazy.
You know, I tend to remember. I'm a people watcher, and I tend to remember a lot of little things that most people don't pick up on. You know, it's just me. I just pick up on little things like that. So when you say like you forgot about me, I don't forget about. I don't know. I'm not constantly thinking about the people from high school or people that I met when I was a young kid, whatever. But there might be things where I pass by or scenarios that may have happened that will bring back a memory, you know? So every time I pass by Clearman's,
yes.
I always go, oh, Lozano.
Northwoods Inn.
Yeah, Northwoods Inn.
Yes.
Because you used to live around that area.
Yes, right behind it.
Yes. So I was
Oh
like,
my God, you remember that?
yeah.
Good.
Dude, I told you, little things, dude. They're little
Wow,
things.
well, that's pretty little.
And I've only
because
been to your house, I think, once.
Not even the group of friends I had in high school know that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, only probably one friend that I had that didn't go to our school at all knew that because he was my best friend at the time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really proud of living there because it was just, a shithole.
Yeah, it wasn't like a huge, it wasn't a house. I don't think it was a house. It was like
No,
a
it was
condo
a small,
maybe?
yeah, it was a little apartment,
Or apartment,
one-story apartment. And, something I guess my parents could only afford at the time. We didn't have much at all in there. Just one little crappy couch, a TV. My parents had a bed in there. But me and my sisters, we slept on the floor.
Yeah.
That's all we had. So,
Well, and then going to that, I know we talked a little bit about this on the tap room, was that we don't really know who we're going to school with. Like, even when you go to school, or now, like, comparison to us working, we don't know what people, who they really are at work. At school, to me, thank you for trusting me enough to go to your house, to your home. I hope you invited me. I don't think I just tagged along, did I?
No.
Like,
no. I think I might go get something or get permission. We're gonna do something.
And we ended up over there. Okay,
Yeah.
so, and I never saw that. I wasn't raised like, hey, this is what we have. Again, I'm gonna throw that word around, entitled, right? I never thought of people being entitled. It was just, this is who they are. And when you meet someone, this is who you're meeting. Yeah. Even though right now
and I'm pretty sure it was quick because if someone ever did come over my house, I ran in and ran out.
Yeah, I don't think we hung out.
Because I was embarrassed.
Yeah, I don't think we hung out or anything.
No.
I
just went in there, probably asked permission, from at that time Hitler, my mother, and like, hey, can I go? Yeah, bye. And it wasn't. It was funny because at that time, a lot of things that people don't understand is, I didn't have a good relationship with my parents.
Well, no, not you call her Hitler.
No, and at that time, especially not my mother, because there was a point in time where my parents got divorced. I chose to go with my dad, which my mom did not like. So my dad, being in love with my mom at that time, because they were high school sweethearts. Okay, we're moving back. And I remember telling him, I don't want to go there and X, Y, and Z. And of course he said, shut up, you're doing it. And of course, when I went there in front of him, she was cool. And as soon as he went to work, because he was a truck driver, all hell broke loose. And she tasked me out with all kinds. I was like slave labor, dude. You know what I mean? I could not, if I wanted to hang out with my friends, I had to do more than I think what your average kid should do.
Damn.
And she would just be on, fine. All right. The billion chores are done. And yeah. Now, most people will sit there and say, well, it's chores. No, I had chores, but I think I had more than my fair share because my sisters, they didn't get tasked with anything.
Yeah.
Or my mom would make them food and wouldn't make me nothing. And it was pretty bad. As a matter of fact.
How much older were you than your sisters?
I'm a couple, like 3 years apart from my sister. My baby sister's a huge gap. So she was a baby at that time, probably like 4.
Yeah.
So if we ever say, as a matter of fact, another good buddy of mine, I don't know if you remember Joe Esquivel.
Yeah, I remember Joe.
Yeah. So Joe, actually, he knew about my upbringing. As a matter of fact, little story. I actually tried to figure out ways to run away to go live with him.
Oh, really?
And his mom was actually for it, because he would say, hey, man, he gets treated like crap over there, and can you live with us? And, she was like, look, I don't mind, but I'm not trying to get involved in people's problems and the cops coming over here. So instead of just running away, I was just always at his house.
Yeah.
So
you guys always hanging out in the area that he had, that little pool room, the little shack.
Yes.
That was pretty cool spot.
So, but before I can go there, I have to go home, and my mom made it damn near impossible for me to go anywhere. She gave me all right, we had the one couch we had, a mountain of laundry on top of washing the dishes, cooking dinner for my sisters, vacuuming, cleaning out the car, doing her laundry. It was and she just sat there the whole time, and she didn't have a job.
Yeah.
Shit.
Okay.
No, she just, all right. So Joe would actually come over, and he would actually help me so I can go to his house. And then she's like, all right, get out of here. And then, then we go.
Damn.
And then I go to his house.
Yeah.
So if you did come over, it was, I ran in, can I go? And ran right out.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know about that.
No.
That's the thing. Yeah, we just don't know, man. But yeah, shout out to Joe, man. His, it's just right around the corner right here.
Yes.
You know that, right?
And then he's still with Angela. I actually talked to them a couple years now back. They're doing great. Those two are just meant to be each other. They're both very cool. Very cool. And as a matter of fact, a little bit of my childhood happiness was just hanging out with them and just being at his house and with all them. So they were very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it worked out for them. 'Cause that's rare. It's
rare. Well, before junior high and before we first met, How was your? Where did you grow up at? Like, as far as like when you're 5 years old, 6 years old, just barely learning around,
Well, this is gonna be a therapy session then.
picking up some.
Yeah. So
Dr. Fidel.
Yeah. So again, I didn't have a great upbringing, and I mean, any people that have kids at 17, 18, you're kids yourself.
Yeah.
So from what I can remember, I was always moving. I wasn't in I can't remember really one legit place other than that one and my grandparents' house and a house in Palmdale. Wherever we moved to was, my parents always fought. My dad used to beat my mom. He used to throw me around, and and when times were hard, I'm assuming financially, we'd pick up and we'd just go to the next place. So I was all over the place.
Yeah.
So I don't really have any solid good memories other than in fifth grade, I think I lived in Palmdale for a little bit. Same thing, my mom and my dad just couldn't get it, and we ended up one night. I remember my dad waking up, said, "Hey, get up, we're moving." And I was like, "Where are we going?" And we're going to your grandparents' house. So we went to my grandparents' house. My mom actually went to her brother's house because at that time my dad's side of the family, which is pretty much the only family I really knew other than my mom's sister, they hated my mom.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about there would be Christmases where she wasn't even allowed to come in. She had to wait in the car.
Damn.
Yeah. Now, I mean, knowing now as a grown man, I don't know why my dad even allowed that because I would have never. That's what it is. But
yeah. I mean, your wife's your wife.
But I don't know. That's a story for another day. But anyways, so we went to my grandparents' house. I remember my mom was at her brother's house. One night I went with my mom and my sisters, and that was actually the night I'm in the next room and I hear my mom basically cheating on my dad.
Oh, shit.
So the next day my dad picked us up and he would take me to my grandparents' house to go eat. My grandma would always cook for us and stuff like that, and my dad didn't have all the money in the world. So I told I was the one that broke to my dad what happened, and then that kicked off a whole slew of problems. So they get divorced right away. My mom was pretty much for the majority of my life, all through my early adulthood, was homeless. So I never, after Trey, that you went to my house, shortly after that, I moved in with my grandparents, and that was it. Never saw my mom. Well, I would see my mom. She would come over. They would call the cops. We had restraining orders.
Wow.
It was pretty bad. And then one day I never saw her again.
And you still to this day haven't seen her?
No, now we rekindled a relationship.
Okay.
So it's during that time frame, when I was in junior high, the house you're talking about, it was pretty bad. Like I said, not only that I'm getting tasked with everything and just being treated like crap, kind of like a punishment. Hey, you left me here with your dad, I'm going to treat you like crap. And then when my dad would come home, oh, hey, our happy family.
Yeah.
But what was I going to do? Because even when I tried to tell my dad, hey, Dad, when you leave, I get treated like shit. That's not true. He didn't believe me. So it was like, God, Mom, might as well just deal with it.
Damn.
And, my mom would slap me around. And then I remember one time I was in 8th grade. And I'll never forget this. I don't know what I did wrong, but she got in my face, started slapping me, and I threw her up against the wall, and I said, you will never touch me again. Well, that plan didn't work out well, because then as soon as I let her go, she called my dad. My dad comes home, and I got my ass whooped.
Oh, shit.
So, but shortly after that, I don't know what happened between them two, but it didn't work out. So my dad, again, he would take us, we go to my grandparents' house, and for the rest of the time through high school, I stayed with my grandparents.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And my dad was a truck driver, and he did cross country, so he wasn't pretty much not in my life really.
Yeah.
Other than the weekends he came over. So my grandparents, which I'm very, very close with my grandfather, who's like my dad. He pretty much raised me, but he was your old school Mexican, like hardcore. I remember the day when we talked about my parents getting divorced, and I'm crying, and I'm a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, my grandpa's gonna give me that shoulder to cry on and hug me, and nope. He looked at me and said, look, this is not going to be an excuse for you to fail in life. It sucks. It happened. Get over it. Let's move on.
Damn.
All right, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Little did I know at that time frame later on in my life, it's actually going to play a big role on why I'm not a very emotional guy. Because in my family, we're better at it, I think, a little bit now. But at that time, there was no like your typical hug and kiss and how you... There was none of that,
Not much affection going on?
No. My grandpa was pretty hardcore. Yeah. Awesome man. Sat at the head of the table. And it's because of him I am who I am today. And he will forever, he's still alive. He's 80-something years old. and forever will be, that awesome. If I didn't have him, I really don't know what I would do.
Yeah. He's the one that grounded you.
Exactly. But he was old school.
Yeah.
So as I'm growing up, I didn't get the talks about, let's say, the female's perspective.
Yeah.
Because my grandma was old school too. So my grandma pretty much, she worked at the time. She had 2 jobs. She cooked and cleaned for everybody, and but it was I would say your typical female Hispanic, just didn't say too much when he sat at the table, especially.
Oh yeah.
So if she did have an issue or whatever, she'd go to my grandpa, and then I would hear from him. But my grandfather laid the foundation, and to him it's all about work and making, and earning a living, X, Y, and Z. So as long as I had a job and did those certain things, I pretty much was able to do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, at the time it seemed cool, but now that I'm thinking about it, and now that I'm a parent, I have 1 son and 3 daughters. My parenting is a little bit different than how I was raised.
Yeah.
I go into everything, even the emotional part. I'm not the world's best, Rico Suave. I know everything about women, because I don't. When it comes in that department,
Yeah.
I was raised by the Army and in law enforcement, and it's not the best way to go. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So, I had to go through, just therapy, reading books as I got older, because I got tired of failed relationships and what have you. So at that time with my grandfather, there wasn't someone to sit down and tell me, hey, this is, pretty much how to tend to a woman's needs and her emotions, and they're going to be up and they're going to be down, and they're all crazy, just the type of crazy you want to deal with.
Yeah.
And, I didn't have any of that. So in a very early age, I had a problem with, I couldn't keep a relationship, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, not that you should at high school, but, I was all over the place, all over the place. And it actually played a huge part on why I got divorced. But yeah, the emotions and everything, it was just huge. So, in high school, I was just pretty much already at an early age, just a rock of emotions.
Oh yeah.
And then on top of the experiences that I had. And
Yeah.
it's funny that I'm even talking about this, because, my family kind of knows about it now. A few years ago, probably when I got back from Iraq, and we, kind of had a little emotional breakdown because all the stuff I went through. And my grandparents finally, for the first time, even when I lived with them, they didn't know what my dad did to me.
Oh really?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there was times where I remember one year there was no Christmas. There was no tree. And I remember waking up thinking, maybe they're messing with me. Maybe Santa Claus is going to magically appear.
Yeah, with the tree and everything.
Nope. None came. None. All my mom said was, you know what? It's not about that. It's about food. And which, to a certain extent, yeah.
Right, yeah.
How do you explain that to a kid?
Yeah.
You can't. You know what I mean? And so I just kind of dealt with it. And, yeah, so it's just crazy. So I finally came out, my grandparents, I told them everything. My dad, when my parents used to get in an argument, he was infamous for leaving. Mm-hmm. He would just kind of leave us at the house, wherever we were at the time, and he'd go to his parents' house.
Yeah.
So my dad's thing was, well, then if this isn't going to work, and, my dad has a thing where at that time, my mom, it's kind of like, all right, you need me, I don't need you type of deal.
Yeah.
So you want to know what it's like to do your own thing? Cool, here you go.
Oh, shit.
So electricity, gas, there would be no food in the house. Everything would just be gone. I remember in my early years.
You and 2 sisters, right?
Yes. I remember,
Full house.
Yeah. I remember being in 5th grade, 6th grade, going to my friend's house, asking them if I can have some food to feed my sisters.
Cool.
I remember calling my dad, there's nothing here. Well, you know what? If you want all that stuff, come with me over here at your grandparents' house. It's all here.
Damn.
And it's funny because now that I'm telling you this, and me and you, and you being a parent, me being a parent, and me being in law enforcement, oh God, that guy should went to jail a long time ago. But to my family, that was like normal for whatever reason, or maybe they just didn't know.
Tough love kind of thing.
Yeah, and even if
Old
they watch
school,
this, I'm
yeah.
pretty sure, my aunt in particular would be like, oh my God, they don't know the details because you just don't address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
In my family, if we don't talk about it, it didn't happen.
It's taboo kind of stuff. We don't talk about that thing.
And it shouldn't be like that. And especially, I think the whole world's like that right now. Let's not talk about it.
Well,
and
no,
we're
actually,
fine.
it's in reverse. I think there's a lot of people that are talking maybe too much about certain things.
Right,
things.
Right.
But, we did touch a little bit about being transparent. And that's one of the lacks that we have is we're not that transparent. And we're talking about it in everything, when it comes to work, at school, in your relationships. If you're a little bit more transparent, I think everything works a lot easier. It's easier because to me, it's hard when you start holding things back and you're lying. That shit's hard. It's hard work. So why even start, you know?
No, it catches up to you eventually.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, and actually, it's funny that you even say that because, you know, even, being older and when I educate my son who's now a freshman, and I tell him, you know what, I'm going to throw everything out there. My parenting with my son is different. A lot of people don't understand. They just assume I have great kids. Like, no, there's a lot of work that goes into there, you know. And my son, my only son, and I'm very hard on him, but I told him, look, we're in a different position in our relationship now, okay? You already know right from wrong. I don't need to be in your butt about everything. You know what to do. Now, I'm going to be that guy. We're not friends. Let's make that very clear. I'm not your friend. I'm not your buddy. I'm not your pal. I'm your father.
Yeah.
But I want that relationship because there's things, there's knowledge I have I wish someone would have gave me when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm talking about not just the basics, have a job, pay your bills. I'm talking about the details.
We're not like cheat codes, right?
Well, yeah. How women work, what not to mess around with.
Yeah. Oh shit! Wait, you know how women work?
Not really. That's me and my son. We're learning together still. But overall, and I look at him and I say, look, if the two things are going to mess you up in high school, what you should know when he first started his COVID freshman year is, I'm like, this is not school, man. Because trust me, when you go to school, it's game on. You're gonna have to worry about your studies plus everything around you. Mm-hmm. And the two things that are going to mess you up are this: women and friends.
Yeah.
That's it. It's going to be the death of you.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean, Dad? I said, well, because let's just face it. Someone's going to freaking, make your little fucking thingy fucking feel great.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're going to fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get what we call pussy whooped.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have these idiot friends that, hey, that looks cool. Everybody's doing it. Let's do it. If you cannot determine what type of guy you are, who you want to be, it's going to be the end of you.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what I'm here for. I'm going to teach you not to follow the crowd, but not get into certain situations, because what a lot of people don't understand when they talk to their kids is like, hey, make them understand whatever idiot decisions you make, it's gonna haunt you forever.
Yeah.
You know? And if I would have made some decisions in my high school, that was just horrific and got in trouble for it, I definitely wouldn't have the career I have, because let me tell you, in my line of work, backgrounds, they go deep.
Yeah.
They talk to people in the Army. I didn't even know how you even find that guy.
Yeah.
So, it's just amazing now, just being a parent now, and it actually helps me out with current things in my life, because in my early 20s becoming into law enforcement, I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought my shit didn't stink. Yeah. I did it. I did 6 years in the Army. I'm a combat veteran.
What's
I made it.
up?
Yeah. I'm now somebody.
Yeah,
I finally, because through my years, there was a lot of people who doubted me, and in my family especially. I mean, my grandfather, he never doubted me. He always had faith in me. Yeah. Even though I probably was, I let him down a lot of times in high school, but he always kept the faith. Everybody else is like, just give up. That guy is just, all he wants to do is party and mess with chicks. He's going to be a nothing. Yeah. And that was another fuel to the motivation that I wanted to succeed. One, crappy childhood. Two, to prove your naysayers wrong. Yeah. And what have you. And I remember just recently telling my son, my motivation for doing what I do today, it sucks. It was mostly fueled by just proving people wrong. And I don't want you to be like that. Yeah. I want you to do what you're going to do because that's what you want to do. That's what's going to make you happy. I don't care what you want to do. He wants to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And everybody that knows me, I hate lawyers. They're the scum of the earth. But hey, if that's what you want to do, then great. But that's what you want to do, not what I want you to do. Yeah. And I think with a lot of a lot of parents is either through your experiences or whatever the case may be, or maybe you think, oh, well, I know so-and-so's parents that did it. I'm going to force my son to go that same direction because it worked for them. I don't parent that way. Yeah. I get to understand my child, and I have to tell him, hey, look, what may work for Tom, Dick, and Harry might not work for you. Yeah. Let's just face it. And it's funny. We just literally had this conversation not too long ago where, he has aunts and uncles who are entitled. Entitled meaning, they have all the help they can.
Came from a good place.
They live at their parents'
silver spoon in their mouth.
Well, not silver spoon, because people that I know, they're not like rich, well off. It's just that you have that cradle. You have someone to fall back to. You can fall back and live with mommy and daddy. Okay. Or, you just have not enough motivation to want to succeed on your own. Mm-hmm. Me, it was the door or succeed. Yeah. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm pretty sure I would have stayed at my grandfather's house for another year at 18. It would have been out the door you go. Yeah. And what a lot of people don't also know, anybody watching this from high school, was I spent a lot of times in high school sleeping on the park bench. Because I'd always just get kicked out. Oh, yeah? Because when my dad would come home. From grandma and grandpa's? Yeah, because when my dad came home, we didn't get along. And when we argued, my grandma, they always took my dad's side. Yeah. And my grandpa was more, he would listen to my side, but my grandma was like, nope, you got to get out of here. He disrespected him, get out of here. So I'd go to Hollenbeck Park and I would sleep on that concrete bench.
Oh shit, really?
Yep. And as a matter of fact, that's when I knew I was going to be in the Army. Like, well, if I could survive this, I'm Army bound now.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually, it's funny. A little story was that year I was getting ready to go into the military. I had to finish getting my diploma. And, you know, again, I lived with my grandparents my whole high school life, a little bit of junior high. Well, yeah, whole high school life. And I remember this one, it was during the holidays, and my dad was always in a bad mood during Christmas. We just couldn't talk at all. He was very close to my baby sister. And I remember one day, I don't know, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I jabbed at him a little bit, you know, 'cause I couldn't stand the guy.
Yeah.
So I walked by and I just saw him just sitting there with my sister, and I said, you know what, dude? Now I'm 17 and a half at that time. I'm like, why don't you just sign the papers and I can go to the Army tomorrow and we could be done with this. I don't have to see you, you don't have to see me.
Yeah.
And my dad's response was kind of weird. He goes, you know, well, you think I'm just going to give my problem away to the military? You're sadly mistaken. I'm like, what difference does it make? When I'm 18, I'm gone anyways.
Yeah.
Well, that sparked a whole argument. We almost threw down. I get kicked out. And as a matter of fact, I remember I went to a buddy of mine from my little circle, Joe's house, Joseph Bracamontes. If you're watching it, what's up, buddy?
Salud.
He actually was going to see his family for the holidays, so I just kind of felt awkward. I don't worry about it. He said, well, where are you going to go? You know, I'm like, no, I'll figure it out, dude. So I ended up just walking all night, and I slept at the park, and then I just knew, you know what, I'm never going to be in this position again. So time comes, I'm 18 now, I got my diploma, I'm ready to go, you know, and I'll never forget this day where I'm at my grandparents' house. I couldn't sleep. I partied hard the night before.
Yeah, it's a going away party.
Yeah, I was with Joseph, Jose, Randy, and Louie. They actually all took me out, and it was emotional because at that time, through most of my high school years, they were all I really had that I had to click with.
Yeah.
So they dropped me off, do the homie hug. All right, man. Hey, bro, you know, stay up, do your thing. And I'm sitting in my grandparents' living room. We had like a little fireplace. And that fireplace was special to me at that time because whether I was in trouble or not, that's where I had to sit. And my grandpa's chair was right next to it. Yeah. So my grandfather's chair was like the judge's chair, and where I sat was where you defend yourself.
Yeah. That's why you don't like lawyers, huh?
No. There's other reasons why. But So anyways, I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and my dad actually was there, and he didn't say too much to me, and he actually came in the living room and he gives me this awkward speech. You know what? You're doing a good thing, and it's time to leave the nest and X, Y, and Z. And I didn't say anything there because I just wanted to get the hell out of there. Yeah. Then 3 o'clock in the morning, my recruiter, all right, Dad, well, I got to go. And a part of me wanted to tell him, you mean leave the nest that you're still at? Okay, let me know how that works out for you. Yeah. And, you know, go on my recruiter, and I remember telling him, let's get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm ready to do this. Damn. And he's like, okay. Little did I know, we got you, sucker, so later. Yeah. And the rest is history. The rest is history, and I never looked back, and I was determined to never fail. You know, but you know, life has its stories, and there was a lot of ups and downs. Let me tell you. Yeah. Did 6 years in the Army, and got into law enforcement.
Do you still have a good relationship with your father now?
So now, yes. There was a time where, as you get older, at least for me, I kind of threw it out there. I have kids, and I want my parents to be a part of our lives. Now, even though they were the world's shittiest parents, doesn't mean they're shitty grandparents. Right? They're great grandparents. Yeah. You know, my kids love them to death. So with my dad, you know, I had a lot of resentment. You know, I have 4 kids, and my dad wasn't at any of their births, and there was not a reason why he couldn't go. He could have gone. Yeah. My grandpa was at every single one. I'll never forget that. My dad wasn't. Whatever excuse, whatever. It is what it is. So I had it prolonged that resentment, and it wasn't until I want to say maybe even just a few years ago that I just kind of, you know what, I'm gonna be the bigger man. I'm tired of our families was kind of divided, and you know I wouldn't go to my grandparents' house, and my dad was there like, nope, I'll catch the next one.
Really?
So my grandparents are getting old. You know, my grandfather doesn't have energy for a lot anymore, and I'm not gonna lie to you, when that man passes away, it's gonna be a hard day for me, but. Yeah. I didn't want him and my grandmother to just, it hurt them a lot that our family was so divided.
Of course.
So I just said, you know what? I'm going to bury the hatchet. And the funny part is, me and my dad, actually, when we talk, we actually kind of get along if we don't talk about the personal stuff. Yeah. You know, because my dad actually was the first one to teach me how to work out in junior high, believe it or not. So we always had like the gym to kind of be the middle thing for us. But other than that, we hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so now we're totally cool. He loves my kids. My kids love him, and and it was sad because for a big part of my life, my kids thought that my grandparents were my parents.
Oh yeah.
So when I introduced my son to my dad, he's like, "Who's this guy? It's your grandpa?" "No, that's my grandpa." "No, that's your great grandpa."
Yeah.
And he just looked at me like, "What the hell just happened?"
Damn.
So needless to say, things have changed there. My mom, however, so when she became homeless and out of my life for a very long time, I will never forget this. I remember I was in the academy. I think I was picking up I was in the beginning stages of the academy, just doing gear or whatever, or training. I don't know what I was doing. But at the time, I was with my wife, and we just had my one daughter. And we were driving on the streets from Whittier, Kalima, going eastbound towards the avenue. And I remember there was a bench at the corner, and I saw a lady there, and she was just talking to herself. And it was my mom.
Oh, shit.
And, at the time, my wife was like, let's get her. I was like, no, fuck no. Like,
so your wife recognized her and all that?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, my wife at that time was there for a lot. We were together since she was a freshman, I was a sophomore.
Okay.
We were on again, off again type of deal, but she's very familiar with everything that happened to me at that time.
Okay.
So she's like, "That's your mom," and I was like, "No." I was thinking about my daughter. Like, she's talking to herself. She's arguing with herself. Like, you want that crazy person to be in our car with our kid?
Yeah.
She's like, "It's your mom," and I said, "No, and we just kept driving."
Oh shit.
So another years go by, and I don't know how I actually. I want to say my sister, my baby sister Brittany, who's now obviously in her late 20s. I want to say my mom has family somewhere in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister goes out there and, hey, I want to find mom. So she wasn't there for a lot of the bad stuff because she was a baby.
Yeah.
They rekindled the relationship. She's telling me mom's doing good. And, I guess my mom was diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
So now that the things that I know now from then, because when you have a lot of mental issues, people understand it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
It is a disease. I agree with that 100%. And I don't know if it's maybe the traumatic experiences she went through with my dad, or maybe even being homeless, because let me tell you, you want to test your skill, go try to be homeless for a little bit.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what happened. I mean, I slept in a park bench. I couldn't imagine doing that for 14 whatever years.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, well, I don't trust this still, because I don't remember anything good about my mom.
Yeah.
So I just took a chance. She came and she saw my kids, and I had that talk with my mom. I said, I'll tell you what, my sister said, "Can I give her your phone number?" And I was hesitant, but then I said, okay, because I can easily change my number if it's bad. Mm-hmm. And, she's seen pictures of me in my law enforcement uniform in the Army. And when I saw my mom, imagine you're a parent, and the last time you seen your kid was maybe in junior high. And the next time you see them, they have 2 kids. Or 3 kids.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Very huge.
That's
like,
really, yeah.
Oh my God, I remember you being a kid and now you have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. So when I first met my mom, again, when it was very hard. She just really just kept quiet staring. And I'm sitting there like, oh man, go ahead and start talking to yourself. I'm throwing your ass right out of my house.
Yeah.
And she just didn't really cry. Kind of went through the motions. I introduced her to her grandkids. And then we just had a talk. Now, part of that conversation, I said, hey, look, I want you in my kid's life. At that time I was going through a lot of stuff, and I just realized the importance of having, my kids only know their mom's side of the family.
Yeah.
They're very tight and what have you. So my side of the family, they just know my grandparents and whatever they see. Mm-hmm. I didn't want that for them anymore. And I want them to understand, who my parents are and their other side of the family. But that animosity was there, and it was so huge that I remember telling my mom, hey, look, as far as me and you are concerned, don't think we're going to have this mother-son relationship.
Yeah.
That's dead. It'll never come back. However, what you did to me isn't what you did to my kids. So you can relive all that being a great-grandma. And she accepted it. And it's hard, if she comes over my house, she's awesome, an awesome grandmother. We don't really talk too much. And I know she wishes that's different, but it's just very hard for me.
Yeah.
So that pretty much narrows it down about my family stuff. Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
It's
all this is.
These
you
are like,
see me in high school, and you don't know about any of this.
Never
stuff.
knew it, dude. Would never think it. You were so. I mean, you hide it very well. You're like you had always this a lot of energy. just everything was cool, like, not a worry in the world kind of thing,
Because as soon as I went to high school, it was just like going to work. I mean, it actually really is.
Yeah.
But I got to leave all the problems behind. I got to stay. Honestly, I never went home.
It was your escape.
Exactly. So if I had football practice or whatever, and if not, I went to Randy's house. That was like the spot. Everybody went to Randy's house. And Randy, if you're watching this, I send you the link, buddy.
Yeah.
That also was a lot of great memories for me. His family was awesome. I mean, have all these guys full of testosterone hanging out in Randy's room, and I don't know if you remember, he was into the DJing thing.
Yeah.
And, that was like the middle ground for everything, and that was my escape. I literally, if I didn't have to go home, I didn't.
Yeah.
At all. And then of course when you started getting into girls, whatever, at that time, my kid's mother, we were in a relationship. If I wasn't hanging out with my friends, we were going out doing what we had to do. So what you saw in high school almost was like a facade. It was just a show.
Yeah.
It was, I don't want to show
It was
you.
your Instagram page.
Here you go. Yeah, because a big part of me, being raised by my grandfather, I didn't want to show weakness. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Cobra Kai. No mercy. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. Yeah. That's just not my upbringing. I didn't want someone like, oh my God, I'm crying, I'm playing victim.
Yeah.
That just wasn't my thing. I just knew I had to go, and I need to get there somehow, some way. But in the meanwhile, I'm gonna waste time partying with the guys and everything. And the circle of friends I had, Randy, Joseph, Jose, and Louis. And the reason why I'm saying all their names a lot is because those guys, that friendship meant the world to me.
Yeah.
That was my escape from everything. If I wasn't at Randy's house, I was at Louis' house. Not Louis' house, Joe's house. And Joe's family was awesome, and his mom was awesome. And it was just, I was filling in that void with everybody else. I didn't really go to Joey's house too much because his parents were really strict.
Yeah.
So we went to everybody else's house that was kind of laid back. And the people I met through that time, which was awesome. At that time, my friend Joseph was with a girl named Tiffany who went to South Hills.
Yeah. And
she actually at that time was best friends with my kid's mom. Okay. So it was just kind of, it was all perfect at that time. Like, oh, this is great. We can all hang out, we do our thing, and and I can get away from being that crappy life that I was at.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe people in my household maybe not 100% agree, but guess what? You don't have to, because you weren't living it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing for people out there listening to this. Hey, look, man, listen to someone's story. It's especially when I went to Iraq, in my family, like I said, we have a problem with, we don't address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. No one's going to be perfect, but we got to talk about it at some point. And we got to sit there and either forgive and forget or mend the issues.
You got to address it at least.
Right.
Yeah.
But
That's
we
a
don't.
start. Yeah.
Okay, it happened, but we're not going to talk about it. When I came back from Iraq, even just being in Germany, I'm a totally different person. And anybody that's been in the military, you grow up that day. I remember that first day. Your mom don't live here. Your dad don't live here. You are going to take care of yourself. You're going to wash your little ass. You're going to feed yourself, X, Y, and Z. So it was, wow. My grandma used to wash my laundry. So now I'm I didn't even know how to use a washing machine.
Yeah.
I'm like following everybody else's lead.
Yeah.
And yeah, you go from there. So when I came back from, I think the traumatic experience just really hit me hard was Iraq. And then when I came back, I have a child, I have a marriage at the time. And, talking to my family, they looked at me and I hate saying this because I hate when they call me this. They used to call me Little Gilbert, which I don't know why, because I'm bigger than my dad.
Yeah.
So
you're a junior?
Yeah.
Oh, I think we addressed that.
Yeah. So I'm Little Gilbert, which I hate. And I just figured out why they called me it literally this past Thanksgiving.
Why they called you Little Gilbert?
Because Robin Hood, Little John, and Little John was bigger than Robin Hood. That's why.
Oh shit.
That's pretty stupid.
But
And I swear to God, if any new partners call me that in briefing, stand by. All right,
you're gonna hear it, right?
Well, no, they know me. I better not. So, anyways, when I came back from Iraq and everything, it was just they cannot get the mind away from me being that kid, that Little Gilbert.
Right.
Even in law enforcement, as a matter of fact, another person I'm close with actually in my family, other than my grandfather, is my aunt. Now, my aunt has been somebody who's always had it together. Always. Financially, she is, I should say, a strong woman, very independent. She was the type of woman in my life that didn't need a man. She showed me the reason why I'm with this person is because I want them there. But if this doesn't work out, goodbye.
Oh yeah.
I always admired that.
This is your aunt from your dad or your mom?
Yes, my dad's sister. So I always admired and respect that. And and later on in life, I started to realize that's kind of what I want. I want to be with somebody who's independent and doesn't need me.
Yeah.
Wants to be with me because they want to be with me
Yeah.
and can contribute. Otherwise, I'm not interested in taking care of somebody. I'm just not. I'm sorry. You know, and probably if women are like, fuck that guy. Well, I'm just not. I'm sorry. I'm not rich.
Yeah.
I got kids that need me. And if you want to help, I'm going to help you. We'll meet in the middle. If not, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
So, you know, so my aunt who literally, you know, motivating me and wanting to get my crap together, but at the same time, we agree to disagree. She's liberal and I'm conservative, so that could set the tone right there. But when she looks at me, I try to tell her and explain to her certain things. She looks at me as like little Gilbert. I'm like, don't look at me as that. Look at me as this law enforcement officer who's been there and done that. Look at me as this guy who's been to hell and back in Iraq. I mean, I remember we're talking about, I don't know if you remember this. There was a time where our country were letting in, you know, we're a safe zone, and I was totally against it, especially with Muslims. And my aunt didn't understand it, and I'm like, dude, you don't understand. I mean, I'm not trying to say here because there is great people and everybody, but in Iraq, I'm telling you right now, they do not like us, and they never will.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, unless you've been to that country, they hate Americans. And I mean, that story from the day, and I really don't want to get into it, but I remember that women, kids, and what you see in TV, strap bombs, and they come at us, it happens.
Oh shit, really?
So, you know, if they're willing to do that for their own people to kill us, what do you think is going to happen when you know, allowed a lot of them to come over here? So at that point in time in my life, I was very like against it. And my aunt was just like, well, this is America. We take everybody. I'm like, well, I get it if you want to live here, but they want to kill us.
Yeah.
So long story short, she kind of looked at me as like, you don't know what you're talking about. But again, that's like you telling me, well, that's not like that in Iraq. Well, were you there? Well, no. Well, then you don't know. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we've had our many disagreements, but at the end of the day, I love her. She loves me. We meet in the middle. And I think she's actually more open, you know, to a lot of my opinions and views, but I also approach it differently. I don't come out strong as much.
Yeah.
And I listen to what she has to say and vice versa, which obviously this is going to lead into, we're going to talk about the law enforcement side. I think a lot of people need to understand that. You know, it's like, hey, look, unless you put on that gun belt, unless you put on those boots, unless you've been to that call where you had to pull a dead baby because his mom decided to get high and not watch him, or that dead body, or that domestic violence because this guy beat his wife because he's cheating and he got caught up, or getting that fight for your life or your partner for that matter, or a shooting, unless you've been in any of those experiences, I really don't think you really have an entitlement to put your opinion on what we do. I'll be honest with you. That's just my thing. However, we're not perfect, and I am open to reform, and I'm open to everybody being on the same page.
Yeah.
Will that happen? In a perfect world, because I'm also open for no more drugs and no more violence, and you know, so you know, it is what it is, and you know, I'm sure we're gonna get into that.
So you know, I want to get back really quick to Iraq. You know, you were talking about they really hate us out there, but is it safe to say that they all hate us out there? Like maybe the ones that are coming out, like trying to come over here, are looking for an asylum, somewhere to get out. Yeah. So
we've had interpreters attached to us that literally hated Saddam. I mean, he told me a story where he goes, I'm asking, why are you doing this, man? You know, because if you work for the Americans, you're an enemy, and they try to come at you. And I remember this interpreter guy, we had to like literally like always watch him and make sure he got home safely.
you're protecting him as far as you're protecting yourselves.
They were gunning for him.
Yeah.
Even the Iraqi police, when we trained them, a lot of them had to wear, that's why you saw at that time frame, like masks, because if they revealed their identity, the chances are the next day they were going to be dead.
Damn.
So, no, absolutely. I mean, they were ruled by a cruel dictator. And
so generally speaking, though, right?
Generally, though, correct. There was a time where I guess I think if we would have pulled out of the Iraq War after we invaded it, did our deal, neutralized it, took out Saddam like we did, and then helped them with their country instead of overstay our welcome or stay there more than we should have, they wouldn't have hated us as much. And that's what happened. Because think about it. So let's just say right now, I don't know, Canada. Funny to say, they would never do it, but let's say Canada came over here, guns blazing, and hey, no, dude, you got a curfew. If you're out past noon, you're gonna get shot and killed. You're not gonna like Canadians.
Yeah, and
that's kind of how we were with them at that time. I mean, we did stuff not because we wanted to, we were ordered to, and there was somewhat of a purpose. But how do you explain our ways of living? And I think that's what our country's biggest mistake is. You cannot force our deals on somebody who's never done it for centuries.
Yeah, you
can't one day just say, hey, guess what, Iraq? You had a dictator all your life. Try some democracy.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not for it. It has to be a slow transition. And unfortunately, I think our country puts its nose in places it shouldn't belong. and it doesn't take care of its own people as it should.
It's interesting. It's kind of like maybe we don't either we don't want to do it in other countries or we can't do it in other countries that we're almost trying to do it here. You know, trying to enforce certain laws like wearing a mask. It's like it's not really a law, but they're making you wear it.
It's
But
not
it's
a
not,
law. So let me explain. Let me squash that right now. Okay,
that was one of the questions that I had that I wasn't able to post by Jody Carter.
A
Remember
law
Jody?
has to be put through a judicial system and voted on and X, Y, and Z and put into place before it becomes law.
Right.
Just because a governor says it's a mandate, yes, it's a state requirement. Okay, what is the California Penal Code for that? There is none. It doesn't exist because it's not against the law. Okay, he's just making it a mandate. So you can't expect us to enforce a law that doesn't exist.
How do you deal with that as when
Well, we don't. Okay. I don't. I mean, you should. Shame on you if you're not wearing your mask.
Yeah.
But let's just be honest. Is a mask really going to stop COVID? I saw a funny GIF somewhere. A guy was wearing like this crazy suit and mask for asbestos and for chemicals, and then someone with a handkerchief. This is going to stop the world's craziest disease. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think. As far as this whole mask deal, I mean, I'm sure it helps, and I think you should. I wear mine, of course, but I mean, how at first they're making this craziness, and people were like literally like beating each other up. Oh my God, you're not wearing your mask.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Yeah, I don't see how that's healthy.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, with lockdowns and people lose, I mean, at some point you have to say enough is enough. Either pump out more vaccines or whatever you got to do, and even then, people are not trusting it. Which, hey, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
But we got to do something because we're not going to have a country if the economy just keeps taking a dump. And again, I don't know if you follow a lot of, I'm really into politics, but this whole bill, they try to, the COVID relief. So why is $1 billion going to Egypt or $1 million going to 3 museums that are not even open? Okay. Why are we even discussing that? Why is that even an issue? Mm-hmm. We have people that have no jobs, but yet you only want to give them $600. Now, maybe if you lived, I don't know, in Ohio, that's a lot. But in California, that'd buy you one nice dinner.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, you're back to square
good
one.
weekend, and that's about it.
Yeah. And that's if you go to Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's horrid. And again, this plays into a lot of the hypocrisy that, I think our government is. And especially right now, I guess we'll just go into it with the whole people hating law enforcement. If you really pay attention, all it is just getting your focus away from the real trouble. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we don't make the laws. We enforce them.
Yeah.
Okay? I didn't vote on this stuff. Everybody did. Proposition 47. I didn't vote for that, but that's just less time for a guy who is, we call a tweaker or whatever the case may be. It's a misdemeanor for, having a possession instead of a felony and X, Y, and Z. And he's literally, it's more work for us booking him. We're going to side him out X, Y, and Z. And he's not even probably going to even see jail. He's not even going to see jail time. He'll go to court and probably get nothing. But guess what he's out doing? Breaking into your cars, breaking in your house so he can buy his fix. How does that solve the situation?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, we got to, jail is not, it's not where, the problem solver. Well, guess what? I knew back then when I was a kid, I didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
So maybe we got to go back to that. But we need to do something.
Yeah. I think, well, the problem is, I've always said, and I've been saying this for a long time, is parenting. We don't have those strong, parents anymore. Now you got a lot of soft ass parents that, oh, we can't say this, we can't do that.
Come here, mijo.
We
come cry.
Do you remember getting the fear put into you? As a
we
kid?
discussed my whole childhood life. So the fear was
that
there.
was a very casual question. I forgot who I was talking to.
Yeah, no,
but yeah, they used to put the fear in you. I mean, we can't do that. I still do. I do at home. I let my kid, just like you with your son. My son's 10 years old. I think 2-3 years ago, we really started to let him know, like, hey man, when you fuck up, like there's you got to pay for these consequences. There's consequences to pay for them.
Yes.
Like you're gonna fuck up, you got to pay for this, and this is what it's gonna cost you. So I mean, my kid, has he stole anything from a store? Nope. At his age, did I ever steal anything from a store? Yep. Did I get and I got in trouble and I got grinded for it? I had to go return that candy back. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did. It was the parenting, and I did it. And I started doing it a long time ago, and I'm gonna continue to do it. Do I hit my kids, spank them? Nope. But I'm tough with them, and I'm firm, and I explain to them, and I tell them what's up, and I'm honest. I'm very transparent with them because I want them to come to me with certain things,
And that's all you can. You can still be hard and still explain it to your child, and I totally agree. Parenting is way different. There's too many come here, me, holding me shoulder. It's okay. Nowadays, if you haven't noticed it, there's people well into their mid-20s, they still live at home.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry.
20s, I think 30s. You got some 30s, 35-year-olds.
But you swear they walk around like they're freaking this. Hey, I'm successful.
Yeah.
Well, I can be successful too by still live in my house, not pay bills. I mean, I don't know what happened with the parenting. I really don't. But yes, I remember, strict, just you don't do it. And that was it because you didn't want to deal with the consequences.
Yeah.
Now, I think the severity when we dealt with a lot of stuff at that time frame growing up was really bad. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I had to go back in time and still be in law enforcement, a lot of our parents would be in jail. Mm-hmm. So I do think, okay, look, you don't have to beat your kid a billion times to get a point across. However, the firmness of how to parent and putting in this discipline and showing your kids, hey, you need to do things on your own and there's consequences for what you do. And I'm not just going to yell at you and then 10 minutes later give you hugs and kisses. And that's how I raise my kids. Yeah. Hey, no, I get on my kids' ass. And then when they're done, guess what we do? When I talk to them, we discuss what they did and mm-hmm. what they can do better. And they're still in trouble. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, go back and go on your iPad. No, absolutely not. And it's for me, it works in my household, and I have a great relationship with my son, and he's very open. And I'm like, look, I will always explain everything. And you're lucky because growing up, my grandpa didn't explain crap.
Yeah, it was just his
way, and that's it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, if you didn't get it, you didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that. At least you get that opportunity. I'm going to tell you why I'm mad at you. I'm going to tell you why you messed up. And I'm still going to be in your ass, and you're going to be grounded in X, Y, and Z. So at least you have that. But I think at some point with raising our kids, then these kids become adults. And they just think that, hey, well, everything was given to me as a kid. Everything's going to be given to me as an adult. And then, let's think of the whole picture. Now you got welfare through the roof. Nothing's free in this world. No. All this costs money. So now it's going to cost more taxes and more of this and more of that. And it's just, I think, me being a parent now, it's like, wow, I get it. And I think we should put more emphasis on how we raise our children. But it doesn't help when you have a government that's supporting all this nonsense.
Yeah.
And guess what? At the end of the day, it's all about votes. So if I'm a politician, and even though I might have my own points of views, but if I can go to the Hispanic community and promise them that they're not going to get deported, even though I know it's not going to fucking happen, you're going to vote for me.
Yeah.
It's all a facade. Mm-hmm. Or law enforcement. Oh my God, the police are horrible. Are we? Yes. You've had these incidences as far as bad things that occurred, but let me tell you something. Violence is not meant to be pretty.
Yeah.
And I mean this 100%. It is not meant to be pretty. When I went to Iraq, it wasn't pretty. When we have to use force as a law enforcement agency, it's not meant to be pretty. And it's not, I don't even want to do it. But you take it there. My job is to neutralize the situation. Okay, just like being a parent, you screwed up. You're going to pay for those consequences. You broke the law.
Yeah.
But the moment you want to play this, I'm going to go for my gun or my knife, or I'm not going to have the car, I'm going to make it. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
I want to go home to my kids. Mm-hmm. And the world doesn't understand that. They just see social media and they just see law enforcement doing what they do. Of course it doesn't look good. It's not meant to look good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And are there bad cops? Yes. They're out there. Nobody's perfect. But there's bad politicians, bad judges, bad lawyers, bad priests. What about the priests that touch the kids? Yeah. But you still go to church. It's humanity. Racism. Are we really going to ever cure it? No.
See, you can't. Like you were talking about being in Iraq. You're trying to change hundreds and hundreds of years. That's hundreds and hundreds of years of what someone's feeling and racism. You can't change that. I know that we can try. We as parents would do it in your own home. You can try to change the way that they think, but it's not going to happen overnight. Right. I don't think I don't think that saying that we can't change racism isn't possible. It might be. We could probably
right.
We could probably change it and really, really slow it down. But it starts at home. I've always said it starts at home because these kids, they grow up thinking, when we're talking about entitlement, the word entitlement. I was just talking to my wife about this today. I used to use that word privilege and entitlement as what it's meant to be used for, and now I feel like I can't use it because someone's gonna think that I'm talking about a white person. Yeah, and that's just wrong. Like they just took another word away.
That's
from
racism
me.
In itself.
It is.
Right.
Just that act right there is racism. So I can no longer use those.
I know
two words.
Entitled, Mexicans. I know entitled African Americans. There's entitled Asians.
Yeah.
But you're right. We symbolize that with the white community
now. Yeah.
And you're right. I'm not saying let's be okay with racism. Absolutely not. We shouldn't do what we can to make things better. All I'm saying is this, be smart and look at the facts, because what the government, politicians, and yes, even though you may not be a supporter of Trump or not, fake news is fake news. You're being fed what they want you to see.
Yeah.
They're breeding this hate, okay? Because at the end of the day, me as a law enforcement officer, I didn't work for them. I don't know what happened in that situation. If you were to ask me right now, and we'll address that elephant in the room, what would have done different? A billion things.
Yeah.
But you don't know that department's force policy, which we have. You don't
Every department is different, correct?
Correct. The only thing I could see in that video is what you saw. Okay? There was officers around him. At that point, he was detained and handcuffed. Yeah, I think you should have put him in the car. It did something. A lot more than just when the guy told you he couldn't breathe, you should have got up. Now, guess what? He's paying for that. He's no longer a police officer. From what I followed, his wife left him. He's going to lose his house. He's going to go to jail. We got rid of that piece of crap. Because if that's your mental thing, you have no... I mean, I get really pissed when I talk about this situation. You have no right being a police officer. Mm-hmm. You know, it brings me back to the West Covina PD deal.
Oh, right.
You know, shame on you, dude. But guess what? Should I have to pay for that man's responsibilities? Mm-hmm. No. Or lack thereof, I should say?
Yeah.
No. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to help you. You know, and society doesn't understand that law enforcement officer, we got to do the work that good people or anybody doesn't want to do. You know, when you get robbed, I got to go look for that guy. When your husband or wife or whoever's beating you up, I got to take someone to jail.
Yeah.
When the kids are getting sexually molested and raped, I got to freaking take them out of that situation. You know, I got to do all these things. So when you talk about defund the cops, which let me tell you, all that means is less cops in the streets. Has nothing to do with my pay.
Yeah.
I think that people are misunderstood. Defund the cops means let's take money away from them personally. No, I'm going to get paid when I'm going to get paid.
Yeah.
It just means, guess what? Instead of 5 patrol cars out there in your city, now you're down to 1.
Yeah.
And
that's more crime, right?
And the problems are going away. As a matter of fact, crime is higher than the 90s.
It's going to increase, yeah.
Exactly. All you did was give more fuel to the fire to the bad guy.
Yeah.
And all these politicians did was, I did what you wanted, so vote for me. And then you do. So I just think in totality of everything, you just, you know, you can have your opinion. Of course, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I just ask, just do your homework. You know, and that's why I kind of wanted to come on here today. Yeah. You can ask me whatever you want. You know, talk to a guy who isn't lawful. Maybe you have a cousin, or maybe you know somebody. Hey, what do you think? Not just let me post, you know, fuck the police and X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, both men and women have families and people to feed and responsibilities. And we do, you know, what people don't understand about law enforcement and, you know, is we're very proud and strong group of people. So weakness isn't something that we really show. But here's something that you don't know. When my shift is done, depending on whatever issues I dealt with that day, I got to go home and take care of my family and raise my kids. My kids don't understand that I just got into a fight with some dude who didn't want to go to jail. I just took a report of a child who was sodomized by his father. That doesn't get turned off. So we have to deal with that somehow, some way. So understand, we are people too. Mm-hmm. And yes, we're probably going to make mistakes. But should you hate a whole group of law enforcement? That's just a form of racism, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
What, right? And when I see these NBA stars and, you know, X, Y, and Z, of course Black Lives Matter. Of course. I don't think somebody said it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But so does Hispanics. And during a lot of that nonsense with the rioting, what was that going to prove? Looting and breaking into people's shops, that's all they had, small businesses. That did nothing. As a matter of fact, a lot of them were attacking vendors, Hispanic vendors.
Yeah. That
wasn't being put out there. They were hiding that fact. Oh, it's peaceful protest. That's not peaceful for shit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, yes, you're like Black Lives Matter. But when I see this LeBron James guy, everybody, if he's your hero, great. But I'm sorry, he makes $3.5 billion, whatever. He's not living our lifestyles.
No, yeah.
So you can say what you want if it's going to sell you more shoes. Maybe he is genuine. I don't know. But all I know is when you call 911, LeBron isn't coming to your door.
Nah.
It's good old Gil Lozano and people with
and
bad back, you know, with a bad childhood or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get through this together.
Yeah.
So I think people need to just realize.
Wow. I think why don't we take a quick little break and then we'll continue on right after this. Yes? Let's do that.
Now tuned in to the tap in. Now tuned in to the tap in. Now tuned in to the tap in. We're talking again, we're talking again. Come on. We're live.